Shiro, a normal high school student, ends up meeting a devil disguised as a human girl. She is out for a cruel revenge that involves 7 people, who forced her sister to end everything. As we learn how they drove her to insanity, how they took away everything from her, and did unspeakable things to her. The most brutal revenge story begins. The manga starts and we see an important encounter between 2 people 3 weeks ago. As someone wakes up Shiro, he gets up and asks his father if they are at their destination already. He complains about how he was asleep, and as they drive, his father goes on and on about how the countryside is better as compared to the city side. As he says this, he instructs his son to behave and get along with the person that they are about to pick up. He was clearly not interested at all. He asks why she would move from a city to a town, but his dad just evades the answer. With a dead voice, he asks if this person were to stay with them at their house, and his father shares how she is an important person. She was the daughter of his senior, and since they have an extra room in their house, he tells Shiro that it wouldn't hurt them to share. As he grunts and cries how his peace could be at stake, they reach the station where they were supposed to pick her up. As his father was clueless, and tried his best to spot her, he brings out his hand and asks if that is the person that they are looking for. As his father compliments him, they drive closer to the girl. It was somewhat clear that she was standing out a lot from the crowd, and as soon as they approached her, we get an introduction to our main female protagonist, Mei. As she stands there with a casual yet good-looking outfit, his father introduces himself and his son, Shiro, to her. And for a moment she just stares at both of them, but later she opens the door and sits in the car with them. As his father starts to ask if she would like to stop anywhere, she was stone silent and said nothing. Shiro himself was sure that there is no way that he would get along with a spoiled princess of the city. His father kept saying stuff about how she could ask for anything and that she could make herself feel at home. But Mei was dead silent and didn't even say a single word. As Shiro musters the courage to say a few things to her, he spins around and asks why she moved to the countryside from the city. As he asks her this obvious question, her whole demeanor changes and she looks right into his soul with a dead look, and asks if he doesn't know why she is here in the first place. He flinches for a bit, and tells her that he doesn't really know anything. As the old man got all sweaty, Mei tells him in a void-filled voice that her sister was brutally killed in this village. As she said this, her words were very dark, and it seems like something way worse happened to her sister, and he starts to ask if this is a joke or something, and as Mei looks to the window, she tells his father that he let a poor innocent person die in a horrible way. Now Shiro was skeptical, so he ends up looking at his father, and sure enough his father had cold sweat all over his face, and he made a face of someone who was actually guilty of something unspeakable. Immediately that week, Spineless Dude turns on the radio and turns up the volume so much that inside the car, all they could hear were useless chatters about the weather. However, on the other hand, she kept glaring at the old man, like she just would end him right there in an instant. As they got close to their destination, the old man finally calls out to Mei and gathers the words to say something about her sister. As he said a few words of regard, his voice was shaking and he was surely too guilty to even look at her. After they got home, his father was immediately praying all of a sudden, and for the next few days he became very distant to everyone. As he was sure that his father couldn't do something like that, deep down he wants his father to at least be a person who would be better than this. But the reaction that he had earlier was very strange. As he walks up some stairs, he announces himself and enters Mei's room, and inside, we see Mei glaring at him, with a rather cute look. As he blushes to see a cute girl in his home, she herself changes her face, and goes into monk mode. As they start to interact, he was there to give out all the basic necessities like a toothbrush and other important stuff. With a trembling voice, he tells her how he wants them to be cool with each other, and would like them to understand as well, if they will be sharing the house. And she tells him to call her Mei. As she interrupted him, she was making rather cute requests, and immediately he follows through himself and starts referring to her as Mei. But he was not there for chit-chat or anything, rather, he was here because something was eating him from the inside. He calls out to her and asks why she told his father the words that she did earlier, and she interrupts him again and asks if he believes in God. As he looks at her dead expression, she starts to make him comfortable and adds that his father didn't really murder her sister himself. She makes a strange request and asks him to give her a ride. And as he stands there, listening to everything, she calls out to him one more time, and he was sure that there was something going on that he didn't know. However, during their short ride, we end up learning the harsh and painful reality of the countryside. As they were going somewhere, she was sitting behind the bike and she cries to herself that she hates the countryside more than anything. Especially this town. All the awful things that humans can imagine take place right here. Corruption and scandals that are covered with such skill that no one can find them out, and bullying that is just ignored by all. Only the powerful live a life that they want, and the weak just survive. As she ends up asking why he didn't go to school, he goes silent for a second. And she exposes his biggest secret. She tells him how he has been avoiding school because he has been bullied there. As his eyes widen to hear this, he questions just how does she know this. He figures that maybe his father had told her, but she adds how she can see through everything. As he keeps peddling, this town was much worse. Affairs, cheating, and everything else were topics that housewives would use to end generations of families in an instant. Blank disease would be rumored throughout, and gossips of all sorts would be the key thing the people there would do. As she mocks how nothing has changed, with an angry look, she tells him how this disgusting place makes her want to puke. She hated everything in this town more than anything. On the other hand, he wasn't sure why she would say such harsh words regarding this town. But she ends up taking him to a shrine. And this is the place where everything would change for both of them. As they made their way inside the thick forest, she starts to explain the legendary story of the snake god. She explains how a servant would circle a rock to connect with the snake god and get their wish, in exchange for something unbelievable. The snake god would give the host power beyond anything, but in return the host would have to give sacrifices in return. And as she adds how there needs to be 7 sacrifices, they all would need to be done in most brutal way ever. Now these were required for the snake god powers, and the sacrifices had to be killed in certain unimaginable ways. As she says this, she tells him that this is not a folk tale. Rather, the snake god requires 7 humans as a sacrifice. As he heard this, he was sure that maybe she is somewhat a little abnormal. First she was spewing things about her sister, then she started to ask about God, and now she is mentioning things about sacrificing 7 people. However, with an absolutely crazy look, she leans over to him and tells him that she is the most crazy person that he could ever think about. As spirals were going on inside her eyes, it was clear that things would start to go down very fast and something disturbing was just about to take place. He started to ask about the evidence of such a thing and if these were even found out by anyone, and with a threatening voice she asks him if he is scared or something. Immediately from the back, trees started to displace, and something massive was making its way closer to Shiro. As he tries to think about what is going on, she tells him how she doesn't need any proof of the existence of a snake god and the tradition. And there we see that around Shiro was a snake-like figure, and it had perfectly cornered him to the point that he couldn't run or hide. As he stood there, just next to him a tongue wiggled, and as he mustered every bit of courage in himself, he saw the most terrifying sight of all time. A 12-meter-tall snake was glaring at him, and had opened its mouth to eat him in one gulp. As the snake made a thunderous scream, Shiro loses his focus and control and falls down. He lets out a scream and the snake approaches Mei without any problem and both of them start to talk among themselves. Shiro was gasping for every bit of air that he could find. As both the giant snake and Mei look at him with snake-like eyes, she jokes around and tells him how the snake god actually likes him a bit. With a trembling voice, he asks her just why she is going all the way and showing him all of this. She starts to explain how she would do anything to avenge her sister. He asks further about the avenge part, and she tells him that her sister didn't die of any accident or natural cause. Rather, her life was made a hell, so she had no other option. As she looks at him with uncontrollable rage, she tells him that there are 7 people that she wants to end. The 7 people who had done their worst to the most precious person she cherished were 3 sons of the Masanori family, the fourth and fifth are their father himself, and the three brothers' friend Nishimoto Shuya. The other two are Minami's junior, and the girlfriend of the oldest son. As we get a glimpse of the people that she listed, at first glance they look like the most average people anyone could spot. However, the things and sins that they had piled up were beyond any saving. Each one of them was the worst of the worst, and had their own way to end lives for their excitement. With a painful voice, she tells him that she met all of them during the funeral of her sister. As our scene swoops to the sad day that May had to face, three useless pieces of trash were joking how her sister finally snapped. And they laughed among each other. As poor May screamed at them, they had no shame whatsoever. Then she heard words from afar and someone was calling her to the mountain. She was sure that the voice was neither a man's nor a woman's, but May decided to follow the voice. As she made her way through the thick forest and located the shrine, there she met the snake god who would bestow her with great power that could end anything. As the snake god had told her to give her 7 sacrifices in return, she exclaims how this is exactly what she wants. As rage boiled inside her, this was the start of her revenge. As tears began to roll from her cheeks, she cries out and tells him how she would not rest until she had returned the favor to the 7 horrible pieces of trash who are enjoying their lives. She cries and tells him how she would then destroy this horrible, vile town that made her sister suffer from every angle. As her eyes filled with determination glare at Shiro, she asks him to help her eradicate the trash from this world. Shiro himself was not a happy, peaceful person, rather, he had scars of himself that were not healing. He remembers a few things that are still haunting him, and he was sure to himself that he is not made up for things like revenge. However, this time he makes up his mind, and he ends up making a deal with the devil. As their bond was established, these two were ready for the next step. After some time, they both were going back to their home after their first real interaction that frankly changed both of their lives. As he jokes about how they could die from the fall of a fast-moving bike, he asks her in a cold voice about the reason she decided to ask him to join her in the revenge. As she replies, she shares how it is better to have 2 people than one. As 2 broken souls ride back home, the sun's rays fell on their faces, and these 2 finally found the missing piece to their puzzles. As she hugs him, she ends up smiling like a person who is happy for the time that she has right now. As he lets go of the brakes, he smiles like a crazy person, and she ends up shaking him off, telling him that he is an idiot. As the snake god followed them, the request of sacrifice and the price of power was surely not going to stop with the 7 people losing their lives. As May grabs onto him, there was still a dark secret that she hid from everyone. After all the sacrifices had taken place, May herself would lose her life as well. The next day, as the clock strikes the 7 o'clock mark, the alarm goes off and he turns it off. He gets up all grumpy, and he reflects how they got back home as the sun was setting. After that, they just had dinner, and then exchanged casual talks with each other, and after that, they just went to sleep like nothing had happened. As we see how Shiro actually has been struggling to sleep and has to take medicine. That day he took some medicines to sleep. As we get to the present, he reflects how he hasn't been able to sleep at all, and nothing feels real to him at this point. As he rethinks all the things that she spewed yesterday, deep down he was still not sure if he wants to go that far for someone else's revenge. As he makes his way down, he thinks that yesterday could have been a long dream as well. As he glances ahead of him, May was eating her share of food and she ends up stopping for a bit when he enters, and she passes him a cold stare. She ends up wishing him good morning, and he does as well. She tells him how his father had actually made them fried eggs and everything, and he should get his. He was sure that she has her own way of explaining certain things. He starts to cook something on the stove, and from the side, May mutters, "How boring." As he looks back and questions what she meant by that, she replies that she is watching a movie, but the movie was so predictable that everything was just making her yawn over and over again. He thinks to himself, why would anyone watch a movie in the morning? However, she ends up revealing another secret about him. She mocks how an insomniac person like him is just so predictable. His eyes widen and he asks just how she would know, and she looks at him and mutters, "Clairvoyance." She exposes how he has been buying medicine from the nearby store. She adds how the clinic and doctor refused to give him the sleeping pills, and he ended up finding another way regardless. The real reason for his insomnia is his bully, Tamaki Suko, who has made his life hell at school. He asks just how she found everything, and she reminds him how she could see everything and learn the details far quicker than anyone. Plus, the supernatural abilities in her allow her to surpass human capabilities. He laughs and wishes yesterday was just a dream, and she laughs at him for making this wish. He was sure that this power was also from the snake god, and she explains how she can get information about something with just a blink of an eye, and the range of this power is vast enough to see full details from afar. She adds that she also has psychokinesis power that helps her move things around if they are small in size. He spins around and asks if she is going to kill them using this power, and she replies that this power is not enough whatsoever, and there is still one step left until she would get her full power. That way she would be one with the snake god. During a certain time, she would have to perform a ritual which would connect her with the snake god, and once she obtains the full power, killing anyone would be a piece of cake. As she reveals the target of her revenge, she adds that Tamaki Aoki would be the first person that she would target. She explains to him how he is a lost cause and would bully her sister when she was in high school and he was only a junior to her. He always has been enjoying his father's connection and their perks to the fullest. She adds that he is rotten to the core and nothing can be done except to crack his neck. She tells him that according to the ritual, they would need to break the neck of the first sacrifice. He tells her that he is not powerful enough to take down or fight him, and she interrupts him and tells him that his goal is to only assist her. She explains how if the rumor of the evidence of Mei using her power is revealed, all of them would just run away. With a light smile, he tells her that he just needs to support her, and she smiles back and tells him to hold on to his role. In the next 10 days, Mei would do the ritual where she would obtain the power of the snake god, and she tells him to prepare for their turn and plan wisely. All the mood changes. When she gets up and tells him how everything that she is doing is for her sister, she starts to cry. He calls out to her, and he was sure that she is not holding on so well. And with a cracking voice, poor Mei cries out that she saw everything that her sister went through. As she looks back at him, she was boiling with rage and tells him how she saw all the bullying that she went through. As he was shaken by her look and words, she adds that she saw everything and the bullying that her sister went through was something inhumane and beyond explainable. They made sure to do all things that were just aimed to destroy a person's dignity. As we see the actual bullying, we learn the bad side of the power and influence that is transferred to kids. It all started from small jokes and pranks, where they would throw her shoes in the bin and fill it with insects. In the class, they would hang her underwear so everyone could see and imagine fantasies about her. As these things started to affect her image, things began to turn dark, and things escalated to brutal bullying that was something that humans would never do. As we see her sister tied to a tree and half a dozen people were having the best time of their lives while bullying the living crap out of her, they also recorded her lowest of low moment. As the lost soul was smiling and crying, these were just the surface-level things that they did. They also forced themselves on her, and all of them made a group to do the worst to her. And the cycle went on and on to the point where she snapped. As Mei cries out from the disgusting nature of humans, she clung to him, cries out that her sister was the kindest human, and was so loving that she wouldn't mind her loss for someone else's profit. She cries and screams how life is unfair, and the bullies who killed her have a bright future ahead and her sister's time was cut short. She cries out for the injustice, and yells that she would kill everyone for sure. As he tries to think how to comfort her, he reflects how he has never had any strong drive for revenge like she is wishing, and all his life he has been enduring. Although he was severely bullied by those brothers, and the adults always overlooked it, he just made excuses to himself, and hanged on the thin thread that keeps him sane. As he calls out to her name, in the next instant, her whole demeanor changes one more time, and she glares around his shoulder with cold killer's eyes and tells him that we would make sure to get our revenge. As she says this, there were some words that he wanted to say to her, but he decided to just forget them, and we learn that Shiro has a weak resolve and deep down he wants a way out from this killing mentality, and craziness that she has been on. In the night, he opened the window for the fresh air, but he was again sleepless. The regular bullying that he went through had made his sleep life difficult, and then there was also another person forcing him to sacrifice 7 humans. Despite it being 3 a.m., he was fully awake. He gets up and decides to just go outside. There, from a room, strange noises were coming out. The noises were all in a foreign language, and he couldn't believe that she would spend all her night watching a movie. He notices that the door was slightly opened. In the next second she spawns right there, and with a chilling voice she asks if he has some problem. He replies and tells her that he heard strange noise coming from her room and decided to check, and with a stuttering voice he tells her that he would return. And she ends up asking if he would like to watch the movie together. As they watch a foreign movie together, he looks at her and asks her if she loves movies. For a minute she chooses not to say anything, but with a gentle voice she asks him if he has ever had thoughts of living the life of someone else. She adds that she isn't interested in money or fame, rather, she wants to change who she is. Deep down she is still wondering just who she really is. As she lowers her head, she looks at him and asks if he had any thought like this. She starts to explain the things that she can experience through watching a movie. She could fall for someone else that she has never met, see sights that she never even thought about. As they kept talking for a bit, she leans over and sleeps on his shoulder. As he reflects how she didn't wake up at all, he questions what justice May seeks and what could have been done to her sister. The next day, he wakes up and realizes that he ended up sleeping in the wrong room. He glances over to see May sleeping all defenseless, and without a care for anything. He looked at her face and for a minute he couldn't believe that this girl was spewing how she would kill everyone, but now she looked like a normal, average girl. He asks himself about the things that he can do for her, and she ends up waking up. As she rubs her eyes, she looks at him, and he passes out a smile himself. As he tells her to get ready for breakfast, she goes back to sleep one more time. After 10 days, it was time for May to do the ritual. As he was approaching the shrine, he was nervous and somewhat afraid. The eerie sound of crickets and the darkness in the forest was a bit too much for him. She also starts to add how there could be something unimaginable near the hiking trail. And she glances over and asks if he is ready for the next step. He nods, and their first step toward revenge just started. As they get closer to the shrine, she asks him to look away since she was to strip away all her clothes to perform the ritual. Additionally, she warns him to never even think about looking this way at all. She readies herself, she tells him to not leave her side no matter what. As she started to circle around the stone, her light whispers and chants and nature were really in harmony, and he himself felt like everything was in a trance for a second. Soon, seconds turned into minutes and minutes into hours, and after the sun had risen, she woke him up, and he asks in excitement if the ritual had worked or not. As she drank some water, she brings out her hand, and immediately her eyes turn yellow and the tree right next to him was pulled out with so much force that it was launched into the air. May clenches both of her hands, and the tree snaps in half with ease. As May laughs and asks if he likes the new power, she begins to dance for the miracle that she was blessed with, and Shiro himself couldn't help but be in awe, and the beauty that she was exuding left a deep impact on him. As they went back, they have successfully gained the ultimate power of the snake god. Now it is a matter of bringing the person that they want to kill. And in the first place, there is something that they need to do first. As May herself asks if he really wants to go to school, he replies to her, and tells her that he must do this, and in the first place, her listening and observation skills are hard to operate in a crowd. As he puts on his jacket, he is ready to go to school. He reminds her that he is in the same class as one of their target, and if they want to know their every move, they need to watch him closely as well. As she kept glaring at him, she tells him wait, and she starts to show her worry and tells him to watch out no matter what. As he went to the school where his life is treated the worst. Just looking at the building and he already started to feel the suffocation, and he started to get flashbacks of the horrible things that they could do to him, if he were to be found out. He started to sweat, and was sure that he should just go home. However, with a determined look he reminds himself that he needs to do his part of the job. He parks the bike in the countless bikes, and from the side, Suki greets him a good morning, and in the next second, someone kicks him so hard, and he was sent flying into the bikes. As the useless piece of trash started to kick him hard, this was the beginning that he feared the most. And thus, he greets him. Tamaki Suki was just the worst of the worst. As he mocks him, he asks if he is planning on going off the rails sometime, and maybe that is why he has been taking time off from school. As they started to joke around, all the students around them were sure to not mess with these bunch of people, since their life would change for the worse as well. Their family is so strong that the entire town is scared to go against his father, and as time goes on, their family grows stronger. As the useless piece of trash laughs at him, after the swimming class, he realized once more that his clothes are gone today as well. From the outside, Suko exclaims, "Nice pitch," and it turned out that they threw his clothes away. As he looks across the fence, he saw that his uniform was thrown into the rice field nearby. Without complaining, he knew that he needed to go and get that. As he runs across, now he needs to get the bag, without going across the field. However, from the back, a person pushes him off and sends him flying into the rice field. As the trash Suki laughs at him, Shiro endures everything and drinks his pride and grabs his bag. And inside, all his clothes were messed up, and the muddy water had even damaged all his clothes. He had another pair of clothes, and from behind, they laugh at Shiro and tell him that his change of clothes is here, and if he wants it back, he would need to pleasure himself in front of them. As he heard the useless piece of trash, he knew that he just always targets the dignity of a person. He screams and tells him that he could use the mud as a lotion, and starts screaming at him to do the honors. As he kept enduring and wondering if he would ever disappear, he starts to pressure him into doing it, and from the side a car approaches them, and from the inside, Shiro's father was driving and asked what the bully is doing here. As he waved and told him how they are just having fun, Shiro's father looks at Shiro and the bully and asks whether they are having fun or not. Now anyone with eyes could know that no one plays in a rice field alone, and as his father understood the situation, he lets out a big fake smile and tells his son that you guys are just full of energy. His father was the biggest loser of them all. He couldn't even understand his own son's problem, and instead he ended up smiling to become the bigger man for the bully's family. As Shiro looks at his only family member who was just a piece of trash, his father and the bully started to exchange words. Shiro was sure that he could never really ask for anyone for help. Even from the past, these things were just the regular events, and his father would do the same thing that everyone in this town would do, ignore everything and accept the reality that they construct in their own minds. As he was shaken to the core and began to cry, he couldn't believe that a father would actually do this to their own child. As his father leaves and wishes him the best in a fake way, he leaves and Suki looks at Shiro one more time and tells him that they are not over. As he reminds that piece of trash how this is not going to be over, he made sure to put on a face so terrifying that his soul would feel the rage. Suki, on the other hand, goes nuts and starts to scream at him. As the school bell rang, and a useless teacher approaches them and reminds them to stop. He eventually stops but was beyond angry. He kicks the mud and reminds him that a trash like him should only just crawl for the rest of his life. As everyone leaves him, he lets out a thunderous scream and gasps for air, finally understanding that May might be right about this hellhole. This entire town is messed up from every angle. The relentless bullying that all of them enjoy and the overlooking of the teachers and adults are all just a few permanent things that dwells in the adult of this town. And in the first place, no one has ever tried to resist them. As he cries out about the injustice, from the side a girl approaches him and asks if he is fine. As a beautiful girl comes closer to him, she reminds him how the field could become a source of sickness for him, and he remembers that this is one of the targets that May has set. As he remembers the list of the people, she starts to talk to him. She asks him why he is here in the first place, and he replies that Suki and others have been bullying him. And as she listens to this, she reminds him that they must have hated the moment when he scored the top in the exam. He cries out why a person would go this far for something so useless, and she reminds him that the reasons for bullying are always petty. As she gets up, she passes him an ugly look and reminds him how if someone needs to survive in this hellhole, He needs to maintain a low profile and never stand out. But as her next words shake him, she mutters and screams out that thanks to idiots like him, who get bullied, people like her are safe. As she makes a guilty and happy expression that just showed her disgusting attitude, she thanks him for his sacrifices. Now, before, he was sure that the people who bully are the worst, but now he understands that the people who pretend that they didn't see the bullying are just as vile as the rest. Mei herself told him how Nanaga is the most wicked person there. In the beginning, when her sister began to experience bullying, she started off by laughing it off and soon began enjoying every single second of her bullying. She could have easily used her status as student council to save her from harm, but she didn't even try. As he remembers how Mei screamed the harsh words regarding this wicked trash, he gets out of the field, and with a pissed voice he asked if she read the room when everyone killed Akari. As she takes a pause for a minute, she ends up making a pig-like face and replies that she died because of her own fault. As he heard these words, he was sure that they are the lowest, and they need to understand the fear of God. As his fist trembles, part 1 ends. Later, both of them corner two targets in such a place where only God could see them. And the most bloody and ruthless things take place.